right. Welcome to this video. Okay, let's start. Sometimes I don't know how to start it. Okay, I hope you're all well, and whoever is watching this, hi, I hope you're doing well. I haven't been recording a video, or I didn't record a video last week because I was feeling very low, and yeah, I just didn't have the energy to do it, which is actually totally fine because I've been working on my book in other ways. Yeah, and it's really exciting how step by step everything's like coming together. Yeah, and I love it. I love the process. I think I say that like at the beginning of every video. Okay, so yeah, this week I will be talking about the 7th lesson in my book, which has to do with reparenting your inner child. And it says, or the lesson says, one moment. Reparenting my inner child is a process that is allowed to need time. Yeah. Reparenting my inner child is a process that is allowed to need time. One moment. I think it's weird for me right now to speak into a camera after 2 weeks. Maybe that's why I feel a little bit uncomfortable. Okay. I don't know if yeah, the concept of the inner child is clear to everyone. So it's this idea that when you're a little child, you are it's like a big topic. You are completely dependent on your parents for like food, for shelter, for safety, for warmth, for like getting mirrored back who you are. Yeah, because you're just learning what it's like to be human and what it means to live in this world. And our parents are like our caretakers, are our the people that kind of guide us on this path. And so our sense of self and our sense of self-worth really grow in the way that our parents reflected back to us, and how they treat us, because we don't have really a concept of ourselves yet, so they kind of give us that. And depending on how the parents do it, depending on that, that's how it turns out, and how your default setting as like how you see yourself and how you value yourself is built. And of course that is changeable, and that as you grow into an adult, you are able to turn towards yourself and be this guiding parent for yourself, where you couldn't be it in your child years, or in your years of being a child. And this process of like being the parent for yourself, for your own inner child, like for that little child that you were back then, but in a sense somehow still carry within you. This process of changing your relationship with that inner child as the adult that you are now, that is called reparenting. and it's mostly like becoming aware of how your inner child feels, how they see themselves, how they view certain things, or what triggers them, what hurts them, what makes them feel joyful, and really like being attentive and aware, and kind of nurturing them in the way that in ways that maybe that inner child didn't receive it in their childhood, and kind of to fill the gaps where there were gaps when they were growing up. And this inner parent, or this inner adult that you have in yourself, is also very much based on, from my experience, is very much based on how I saw my parents interact with or act with themselves and also with others, and kind of what they presented to the world of what it means like to be an adult. And it's kind of a process, I think, for everyone in a way, when they grow old, to kind of weed through the ways of how we were raised, and what would we like, what we want to can hold close to our heart and carry with us, and what we maybe don't want to take with us and like leave on the path and continue without it. And my inner parent and my inner child, they were really far away from each other when I started this journey. And and for me it was really a journey of like coming closer again to each other, and for my adult self to really honor and see and appreciate my inner child for who she is. And the lesson talks about that it's a process that's allowed to need time, because I really often tend to be really hard on myself when it comes to changing patterns or changing ways of being, and that I don't like or that I don't want anymore. And and it's really, change in general, I think, is something that really is it just takes time. And this and it makes sense if you think about how long your childhood was, and for how many years we grew up in an environment that taught us a certain way of being with ourselves, being in connection with others, and to really like find your own way of how you want to continue this relationship with your inner child. It takes a lot, because it's like this little inner child has been raised in a certain way for so many years. And so to me, like, just thinking about it, it makes so much sense that it just takes time. And for me, that's just that in itself is a big change for me to learn, like, to be patient with my inner child and with myself in general. Like, I think, because I grew up in such a big family, things, like I said in other videos, like, they had to be done quickly, and everyone kind of had to work their position, or like be the part of the family that, I don't know if you say that in English, that worked in a certain way, so that like the whole family could function. And this like slowing down and being patient with like when I'm struggling, or when I'm like not able to do something that I'm wanting to do. That's that's something that I'm remembering not really growing up with. And so so that lesson in itself is like a way of reconnecting with how my inner child works, who is a little bit more slowly and really needs time to digest situations, and just needs a lot of time in general, I think. And really enjoys like slow processes. Slow and steady. It's very interesting. I'm also interested in astrology, and my like in astrology you have those 3 big signs like in your chart. The first one is like the star sign, which is the sign that the sun is in on the day you were born. The second sign is the ascendant, and that's what is that? I think it's like the star sign where that's in your 2nd house or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a big one. I have to look it up. And the third one is the moon sign, and that's like the star sign that the moon is in at the moment where you were born into this world. And they like all 3 of them like represent different sides of you, and the moon sign represents what your emotional needs are, and what you need to feel safe and feel good, and what your inner child maybe needs. And in my case that's Capricorn, and it's an earth sign, and it's very it's very like a slow, from what I've read about it and what my feeling for this sign is that it's very grounded, needs like routines and slow and steady working towards something, and is very sensitive as well, but doesn't really want to show it too much. So to me it makes a lot of sense that this is what my inner child needs, and I think it's different for everyone, of course. Okay, what else? Maybe I can talk about something it's a little bit vulnerable, but I think it's very worth it to talk about it, because maybe other people struggle with it as well. It's about my relationship with food. So when I was growing up in this environment where it was, and I feel like the more I grew up, the more fast-paced it got, like getting into school, and then everyone having all these different activities, and me being like very, very sensitive to everything that's around me. Like I was super affected by the fastness of other people around me. And so, what did I want to say? So I kind of had this, or I always, or let me think about it when it started. So I was always like very tall for my age, and I remember when I got into preschool, no, not preschool, sorry, when I got into 1st grade, there was like, sorry, this is really random, but there was like this event for the 1st graders to be welcomed into the new school, and the principal of the school, he stood in front of the whole crowd, like with us sitting all in the first rows, like the first graders, the new 1st graders, with our we had like this big paper bag with like candy in it and other things, and our new backpack, and being very excited, and and he would call the names of all the new students and would invite them to come to the front to go to their new teachers. And yeah, so when it was the turn of my class, yeah, he called us all up to the front, and when I stood up like to go to the front and he had said my name, he was like into the microphone in front of everyone. He was like, "Wow, you're a really tall girl." And I was so embarrassed, but like this is an example of like I was really tall for my age, and I really stood out to people. And I think it was like, yeah, I was kind of like skinny, I would say. And then like, I'm pretty sure in 4th grade already, like I started to like gain a little bit of weight. And I really, like, I don't know if when it started, but I really liked food and I liked eating. And I remember often thinking, oh, once I'm an adult and I have my own home, I will buy so much ice cream and I will be able to eat it whenever I want, because my mom, she was very health oriented, because she studied to be she studied nutrition more, with also the chemical aspects, like very in depth. And so she was very interested and aware of like nutrition, and would like really had an intention of raising us with a healthy diet. And so we didn't have Coke or anything at home, or we had sweets, but it was very regulated how we were allowed to eat them, and like ice cream as well was also regulated. And so yeah, I remember thinking, okay, when I'm grown up I can eat all the ice cream I want. I was really excited for that. And what did I want to say? So yeah, I gained a little bit of weight, which I think weight fluctuations as you're growing up are very normal. And I didn't think a lot of it until when I was in 5th grade. Like I got some comments from friends, which really, that was like a moment when I realized, okay, maybe something is wrong with me. It's so sad. But I mean, when you're a teenager, so many things in your body change, and you're really insecure, and there are all those influences and like expectations. It's really, I really feel for teenagers. And I went through that too. And anyway, what I wanted to say with eating, like I think at some point, like it kind of became a way to cope with like overwhelm. That like food gives comfort. And for me, that was like one big thing, that I would like eat a lot to kind of comfort myself. And I remember on those Sundays when very often we had friends over, and we would have those very extravagant meals that my dad would cook with the help of other people, of course. And I would eat so much at those meals, and afterwards feel so heavy and so, like not good, and would really like blame myself. Why did you eat so much again? And I'm now looking back, I think it really had to do with the fact that it was just too much for me to like go to church in the morning, then come back, have like to prepare for lunch and prepare the table and like all those things, and then right away have all those people come over and like be around people all day. And now I know that's not at all what works for me. So it makes sense that I had to kind of find a way to cope with this, with the situation where I couldn't really, I didn't have a way to maybe express that or to honestly really get aware of it myself. And so yeah, that was my way to cope with it. And so that continued to be a way to kind of regulate, even though it didn't really regulate me that much. But I mean, it kind of grounds you, because you feel very heavy in your stomach then when you eat a lot, and that kind of gives kind of a sense of grounding, I guess. And then yeah, and the older I got, like it was often a topic for me, overeating. And at the same time, it was like not something that anyone was concerned about, because in my family, eating was like really celebrated, and eating a lot, like when we would have those family gatherings, everyone would eat a lot, and so it wouldn't really be something that we would like talk about, or that was of any concern of my parents. And yeah, and then I grew older, and like I remember when I was an exchange student, when I was in the US, I was like 17, and we had like the sleepover at school, like from our tennis team, like girls tennis. And we stayed up all night, and it was like all new, like being around so many new people, and a different country, different culture, different language. And I remember eating those golden fish, like they're very famous in the US. And I ate like, I think a whole like packet of them, and I felt so sick afterwards, and so I had like reflux, is that the word? I remember, and I felt so bad, but like that was the only way for me to kind of cope with this overwhelm, I think. And yeah, I remember even like in high school, when I got home, when I was older, I would like when I had like an event or something, or yeah, something in the evening, and then I would come back, and I had eaten before, but then I would come back home, and there was still leftovers from dinner, and I would just sit there at like, I don't know, 10 or 11, and like eat so much of the leftover from dinner, which felt so good, but of course made me my stomach like my stomach was a little bit, yeah, was trying its best, but it was, yeah, and I would feel bad about it the next day, and like it was a big topic of shame for me, while at the same time that was my coping mechanism, so I didn't really know what else to do. So, and because it had been in my life for so long, and I didn't have any other ways to cope, I think it really, yeah, it took me a long time to really create a new relationship with food that went beyond just something that fills my stomach so that I feel heavy, so that I feel grounded, and to really change my relationship to it, to like something that nourishes me, something that brings me joy. I mean, it did bring me joy before, but not in the way that it does now, I think. And like to change my relationship to, okay, what do I actually desire to eat? Like what is my body really wanting to eat, and not, or what does it really need compared to what it wants to just cope. And of course to also find new ways to manage my, when I was overstimulated, or to avoid situations where I knew, okay, I would feel super overwhelmed, or so it was a whole new way of kind of reparenting myself, or actually to look at that inner child that was actually just doing its best to cope, and to look at it and say, hey, I finally see you now, let's find ways, let's work together, and let's find ways that are good for you, and that are also kind of making my adult self feel like I'm creating good boundaries for myself, so that I have a healthy body, that I have a lifestyle that fits with my values, or what I desire, the kind of lifestyle I desire to have, the kind of food I desire to eat as an adult, compared to what my inner child just wants. So it's kind of like really weighing out the different desires, and finding ways to compromise. Like, for example, with this ice cream thing, like I love ice cream, I still do. And I've spent so much time already in the last years to think of ways how to eat ice cream in a more balanced way or more healthy way, and still sometimes, like now not so much anymore, but like I still had times when I would feel so heartbroken and so like drained or like low energy that I would just say, okay, now I will just eat ice cream, I don't care. But and I would do it like in a really conscious way. I would say, like, I mean, by eating ice cream, I would like get a whole thing and like eat a lot of ice cream. I mean, ice cream in general, it's totally fine. It's just like the amount, and for me, because I'm very sensitive to sugar, like I really like, yeah, I actually, like, even if I'm anxious or something, I get more anxious when I eat so much sugar, because it like makes my heart beat and race and my blood flow much faster. So it's not very helpful actually, but I sometimes in the last, I don't know, yeah, 3 years, I would be like, okay, I know it's not good for me, but I can't be an adult right now and kind of find other ways. I just have to do this, and I would be very aware of it and just tell myself, it's okay, you're allowed to do it, let's do it. And that was a very different approach, and for me it was just a huge thing to, first of all, like, name my shame, and to name how ashamed, because I mean, I don't know exactly where the shame came from. I think the shame came from that I felt like I didn't have control when I would like eat so much in the evening. The shame that my body would, like, of course, because or in my experience, like everything around me, all the culture and society, or like the magazines and the music and like the fashion industry, everyone's like reflecting back to me, you have to be skinny to be like desired or something, or yeah, and of course that also plays in this feeling of shame, and thinking, okay, so I will not be desired if I now ate so much last night, and now I will like gain a few kilograms, and then I will not be desired by someone. It's so crazy how we're so influenced by all those things. Anyway, so there was like this huge pile of shame in me whenever I would do this. But of course, in the beginning, I always avoided it because it felt so, I just didn't want to face it. And it was like this thing with the eating was something that I didn't want anyone to know, really. I felt super embarrassed when someone would like notice or see me doing it. And I kind of wanted to hide it from myself as well, because I didn't want to face the fact that I was like, yeah, losing control a bit there. Which is so interesting, because I mean, I had lost the control before already, when I allowed myself to be in a place where I would get overwhelmed so quickly, but I didn't know myself, so I didn't know what was causing it, really. And so you see, it's like a huge process, and like slowly, little by little, I would like or allow myself to feel this shame. And instead of before I would like wake up the next day sometimes and be like, okay, now I have to like work out so much and not eat for the whole day, and talk to myself so negatively. Like I would beat myself up so much in my mind, like, what did you do? And just like be so hard on myself, and slowly but surely I would like allow myself to feel how I would actually feel on those days afterwards, and say, okay, I feel so much shame, I feel really heavy in my body, of course, and really allowed myself to just be present with the shame, and to talk about it with someone, which was a big deal. And yeah, slowly but surely, like the shame, because I was seeing it and like acknowledging it and like speaking it out loud, I kind of was able to kind of release the shame a little bit more. And so whenever it would happen again, I would talk about it again the next day with my mom or someone else, and they would, like, often people like would reassure me, it's okay, sometimes that happens, and we would talk about maybe why it did happen, and I kind of slowly started to find the traces. And so the shame kind of became less. I mean, I'm talking now about a long period of time. It's really such a journey. And then it turned into that whenever I would eat a lot at night, I would just let myself be, like, sleep in the next day for a long time and then just take it very slow, because my body, like, I would really try to welcome my body, how she was the next day, and say, okay, we ate a lot yesterday, so of course now you feel a little bit drained, so what can we do? Maybe you want to drink a tea and maybe take a walk, and like really try to welcome myself with how I was then, and give it space and not push myself through it, and that really helped and really made me be much closer to what I was experiencing, how I was feeling, and made me realize much more how it impacts my body when I eat so much. And that kind of reminded me then again, whenever I would want to eat a lot in the evening because I was emotional or something, I would remember, okay, do you remember how you felt last time? Are you willing to do that to your body this time? And sometimes I would say yes, and sometimes I would say, maybe I can find something else, or maybe I can drink a tea, to kind of have a feeling of being like filled up, which grounds me. Or maybe I'll just talk to someone because I'm emotional, or I'll go for a quick night walk, or ask my mom to join me because I don't feel safe walking alone in the night. And so slowly it like shifted, and I found little solutions. And with the ice cream, like I wanted to say, I found like healthy ice creams, vegan ice cream, not healthy, but like with less sugar, or vegan, or sometimes I would like mix coconut yogurt with like chocolate, baking chocolate powder, because I was thinking, okay, I want something that's cold, that's creamy, and that's chocolatey, and that was like kind of my alternative to it, and it's less like sugar, less fat, and it would also kind of satisfy this desire that I was having. So I was really looking at the desires I was having, and sometimes it's like I actually just want something creamy, I want something cold. Like creamy, I could also make like a pudding, chocolate pudding, which is not as heavy, and like I would really like find those little solutions. And still sometimes I love like getting a Magnum ice cream, and then I really celebrate it, and I love it so much, and I really cherish it, and so I've kind of like, maybe the thing was that I welcomed this part out of the darkness into my life, because I really wanted to keep it in the dark, but I kind of reached out a hand to meet it, and kind of like a parent, like found like helped it to name it, and then try to find compromises, solutions, and kind of set loving boundaries, and said, okay, this is my boundary, so, or the boundary that I want for you, so how can we make it in a way that works for you? And like really created this, I would say, this way of being that really holds space for what my inner child wants and needs, and wants to be heard and seen, and then also what my inner parents are like desiring for their inner child. And if I think about it, it took so many years, and it took such a long time, and it's still an ever evolving thing. So maybe with this lesson I really want to encourage you or anyone to allow yourself to give yourself this time. Changing patterns, especially patterns that have been there for so long and that are there for a reason, because you didn't know any better as a child, and you didn't have the support to figure out what it was, and to like find healthier solutions or other solutions, which it really created this really strong pattern in you that really needs a lot of time to first of all, like see and acknowledge, and then to like lovingly unravel and look at from all sides and understand, and then slowly but surely change if you're wanting to change it. And in my experience, just acknowledging it and accepting that it's there is already a huge step to change. So and the solutions, they come slowly, and yeah, they will come when you have a desire that to change. Yeah, so it's a long process, and it takes a lot of care and attention and energy to redirect your patterns or your inner child, and it's so worth it. Yeah, it's really worth it, I think. Or in my experience, it's really gives me so much peace and gives me the feeling yeah, that I just know myself so much more, or so much better, and I have so much more confidence in who I am and how I deal with things, how I and also a lot of grace. Yeah, I think I've because when you acknowledge your own dark sides or the things that you really would usually like, it's so like, maybe I've said it in a way already, but it's so interesting how the things that we're so most ashamed of often are things that we like just discover to, or things that we do or did or do because we don't know any better, and it's not because we're like bad people, or like in my case, like not able to have control over my body or something, or like control is kind of a strong word, maybe like losing my ability to make conscious choices, maybe. Like all those things are not there because we're like bad people, but because that was the best we could do with what we had at that time when we like those patterns kind of started, and it was very good. Like for me, eating to ground myself was a very wise thing to do, because food, it was there. We always had a lot of food, and it kind of helped me to stay with my tribe because we were eating together at the time when I started. And yeah, I was still like getting the love that I needed, and was like kind of able to ground myself. So it was very brilliant and a very smart thing for like my little, like the little Hedi to do when she was little, not knowing any better, and like just trying to find a solution, and that was the solution she came up with. And it's the same, and yeah, and over time this pattern kind of continued and stuck with me, and over time I figured out that I didn't want it anymore, that I didn't really need it anymore, or maybe my body realized, okay, maybe, or my subconscious, I don't know, realized it didn't need it anymore and wanted to change it. And then I was capable to look at it. Sorry, now I'm a little bit all over the place. What I wanted to say with it is that yes, the shame is there about those things, those patterns that we have, or and at the same time I kind of want to take away, like soften the shame a little bit, because it's the best that we could do at that time, and it's okay to want to change it now, since you're like, or we're in a different place and we're able to change it, and we have different resources and things available to us that can help us change. And yeah, so maybe I kind of want to give like this idea that if we want to change something, it's also okay to honor what we want to change and say thank you for having been there, because you really helped me in a circumstance where that was the best I could do with what I had, with the knowledge I had, with the support or resources I had. And yeah, maybe that makes it a little bit more soft too. This transition makes it a little bit more soft because it starts with self-compassion and like valuing the where you came from. Yeah, wow, I didn't think I would use this example, but I think it's a very good one. And often in my experience, the things that we have the most shame about are the things that really lead us to, or are the things that really mean so much to us and hold so much love, actually. Love, actually, the movie. Sorry. Yeah, when I think about food, like I love food so much. It's like such a source of joy for me in my life, and I love preparing food and like plates that look so beautiful, and like, oh, I love like trying different foods, and it's such a big thing in my life now, and I love to put a lot of attention and care and intention in it, and like to buy really good food and yeah, think about it, talk about it a lot. With my mom, we talk so much about food. Yeah, and maybe that's also one reason why I turned to food for comfort when I was little, because I loved it. But I just didn't have a way to yeah, there were a lot of things to still be uncovered and like learned before I could really have like a really good, healthy relationship with it, I think. And I kind of needed to, in a sense, I think emotional stuff for me will always somehow be connected to food, because food, I mean, we take it into our mouth and it goes into our body, so it's very close to us, just like emotions are very close to us. And so I will always in some way, yeah, just like involve, which it makes sense, like to involve food as a comforting source of comfort as well. And I still do it, and when I do it very consciously, and like, I don't know, like in the last weeks I've baked like 2 or 3 different cakes, and it was like such a nice thing to, and like I enjoyed the process so much. And then I had the cake, and it was such a joy, and I loved eating it, and it gave me so much comfort and a sense of, I don't know, such a good feeling. So I still use it in a very, I would say, very conscious way, and sometimes even when I like overdo it and I still like fall into this pattern, which now thinking about it, I really haven't in the last weeks or months, even maybe months, I don't know. Then I'm just like allowing it, and I say, it's okay, Hedi, let's just do it, and then tomorrow will nurture you so that you will feel better. And there's a lot of compassion now, and I think that's what this reparenting of my inner child journey has taught me also, is to really have so much compassion with myself when something doesn't go the way that I had planned it, or I'm slower than usual, to just really speak, like in my head, to speak so much more kindly with myself. Like in the last weeks I've had, last week when I couldn't make the video, I didn't really, like afterwards I kind of figured out what it could have been, but I was, for like 5 days, I was so, like my whole body felt so, like I had so little energy and so tired and had very little motivation, and sorry with the noise. Sorry, I think I will just close the window. And even though I was kind of, I was getting really frustrated with the fact that I wasn't having the energy that I would like to have, I really consciously did my best to speak kindly to myself and to say it's okay to have little energy. Just you're doing the best you can. Let's just take a nap today. Take it slow, and really try to celebrate like the things that I was getting done, and to just be really, really kind to myself, and thinking about how it used to be in the last years. I used to speak so differently with myself and be so hard on myself, and it really has an impact on how we feel, depending on how we talk to ourselves. So that's something where I can really tell, okay, I've really changed my relationship with my inner child, or I don't know my inner child, but like with myself, the way like how I speak to myself, how I parent myself, and that's a really cool win. That's something that I'm very proud of, and that I really, after those days, I really patted myself on my back, saying, wow, I can really tell how much I have grown, seeing how I talked to myself in those days, and just gave myself a lot of grace and was very gentle with myself. There's one more thing. There's one book that I read. So maybe one more thing about inner child work is, I think in order to heal your inner child, heal my inner child, or in general, I think, of course you have to get to know it and listen to it, and that's, if I think about it now, like after I was in a clinic in 2020, I was really committed to going to therapy a lot, and so I kind of made a deal with my therapist, because she had enough capacity. I made a deal that I would go to her practice, or have a session with her every other day. So we met 3 times a week for like the whole summer of 2020, except from like, I think like 2 or 3 weeks when she was on vacation. And in that time, like, we only talked about, almost exclusively talked about my childhood. And the more I talked about it, the more things I remembered, the more things came up, and the more emotions came up. It was really tough, because it's easy, I think, in our day-to-day to like, or it's not easy actually for a lot of us, I think, to remember our childhood when we're so caught up in our life here. And for me, it was super helpful to have like the space and to be with someone who really it was very professional and really had a lot of experience with this topic. And so we unpacked so many things from my childhood and talked so much about it. And then when she was on vacation, on those like 2 or 3 weeks, she suggested, or she gave me a book, I think, or 2 books. The second one, I think it's called Not Everyone Has to Like You or something. I'm not sure if that was that one, or that was one that my friend suggested. I don't know. Anyway, and one other book was, in English it's called Your Inner Child, and in German, like, the translation of the German book would be Your Inner Child Needs to Find Its Home. And this whole book, it's very well written and very practical. It's really about reconnecting with your inner child, and reconnecting also with the dark sides, like the parts of you that weren't met, and also like the positive side, and kind of re-nurture this little child, and give it the messages that it would have maybe that it didn't receive as much as it would have needed. They're called the Good Mother messages, and I actually have them here hanging above my bed. I will just get them, because they're so beautiful and very, very helpful, or at least for me. so nice to, and of course reading that book and doing the practices I did there and talking about my childhood, it was all a start, and it wasn't like that suddenly everything was good. But I think that was a good catalyst to start this, or to really like bring all of it up and to create an opening for this healing to happen. And the good mother messages are, and this is something that, like they write in the book, this is what every child needs to really know in the heart. And like this book or those messages, like saying them now and saying them to your inner child really can be really healing, to show your inner child, okay, I see you, I love you. So the messages are: I am glad that you are here. I see you. You are special for me. I respect you. I love you. Your needs are important to me. You can come to me whenever you need help. I'm here for you. I take time for you, or I make time for you. I protect you. You can rest with me, or like you can come, you can be calm when you're with me, or something like you can, come to rest when you're with me. And I delight in you so much. And it's so, I think, now reading them, they don't seem like, to me, they're messages and they're nice, but to really feel them and to really believe them, that's a whole other thing. And and kind of when I wrote them down, and really I wrote a lot. I also wrote like letters to my inner child. I will actually put one in my book, I think. I wrote letters from my inner child to like my dad. I think my mom, I'm not so sure. Dad was like a really big topic there. I wrote a lot from the view of my inner child, or like talking to my inner child. And that was so freeing and so like released a lot for me. And I got a lot of realizations from that time, regarding my childhood, what didn't go well at all, what I would have needed, what I didn't get, I think at that time I was very focused on things that didn't go well, because I was used to seeing my childhood in a very positive light. Before I would think, oh, it was good, it was nice, my childhood, I was very safe and protected, and the more I dug into it, the more I realized, okay, it's not all, what's the word? Sunshine and smiles. So I think I was very focused on like the negative sides, or things that didn't go well. And that's I think it's also very interesting, because we tend to really avoid the uncomfortable things, and really also as children, I think, really bury our feelings, our negative feelings, especially towards our parents, because of course they are our caretakers, because they are the ones that we need so desperately much. So it makes sense to kind of bury it in ourselves and maybe take the blame on us, and not see them. We cannot see them as negative or bad, because we're dependent on them. In the book, it's very well described, I think, as well. And so it was very new for me, or very interesting, to really allow myself to remember certain situations from my childhood, and how I actually felt in there. And I think it was a big healing process for me to allow myself to remember those things. And it really brought a lot of like aha moments for me, and also made me really understand myself. And I think the more I that I think it also helped me to understand why or who how I am now. Like because I've already talked for 55 minutes, but like I kind of grew up with this understanding of myself that I was not as sensitive as I actually was, which is also kind of, I would say, a coping mechanism, because I would have never survived I would have never been able to belong in my family if I had from the beginning really had the chance to acknowledge my sensitivity, which and because it wasn't really reflected to me in the vastness of how I actually felt. I didn't have sorry, I will restart the music. I don't know if this is like too deep into the topic of inner child work now, but like when as a child you express something and it's like when it's like shamed or put down or like not acknowledged at all, you kind of don't have a context for it and you don't understand it yourself, because you just don't know what it is and what to call it. And so I think looking back now, I think I just like buried, I think I said that in the beginning, like in my first video as well, that I buried a lot of stuff that just wasn't reflected back to me, or was even like seen as some or shamed, like something that was not good or not allowed to be there. So kind of stuffed it away. And so I didn't have a sense of it. I didn't know that was really part of me. It kind of, like, I would say the sensitivity in me was always there, but I never really acknowledged it because I didn't have or hadn't had the support to really acknowledge it. So I kind of like ignored it. And so what did I want to say? So growing up, I had the sense that I was a certain way, and that didn't really include the sensitive side. It just included the traits and the things that were acknowledged and welcomed from my parents or in my family. And so when I fell into depression, or when I started to get super sensitive, like when this all started and this heartache came up and I felt like I had no extra layers of skin anymore, and I was super sensitive to everything around me and so drained all the time and overwhelmed and overstimulated all the time, I felt like, what who am I? Like, what is this? Where is this coming from? Like, I've never felt this way before. And I was so scared, like, not scared, but like maybe confused and like just like shocked, like, what? I've never seen or I've never experienced life this way. But then like going into my childhood and understanding and really feeling and acknowledging how I had felt as a child, like kind of like allowing my child those experiences that I wasn't allowed, or that I wasn't mirrored back, or wasn't seen as from my parents, or from the people around me, and to kind of be that person, like now of course time has passed, but kind of like going back into that situation in my mind or in my imagination, and really seeing this child and telling her, yes, you are, I can tell you're really sad, or I can tell that this really hurt you, I can tell that this is really scaring you, or this feels like it's too much, and I'm so sorry that this makes me really sad now. I'm so sorry that no one was there to like hold you, or to protect you, or to make you feel like it's valid what you're feeling, or helped you to understand, and I'm so sorry, and I'm here now to see you, and if you want I can hold you in my arms, or like to really be that reassuring adult that I didn't have. Wow, it felt very tender to say that. Or I didn't have in the capacity that I would have needed it. And yeah, it really gave me context for what I was experiencing then, and kind of like created a thread and helped me understand so many things that I experienced, not even only as a child but also later. And it really gave me peace and helped me understand who I am, and now I feel very, very connected to my inner child, and I love her so much, and like that she's so sensitive, like she's able to enjoy like the sweetest things and the smallest things, and I really see the beauty in it as well now. Okay, thanks so much for being here with me this Wednesday noon. What time is it? 12:33. But of course this video will be uploaded later. And yeah, thank you. Like I didn't know at all what I would talk about today, and I really liked how it turned out. What I talked about, it gave me a lot of like things to put into my book. And yeah, I'm also noticing that it's much easier for me to really dive into this, or the like deeper topics, and not be so hesitant. Like I used to know the things that I wanted to say but kind of circled around them before because I was kind of scared. So now I feel like I'm overcoming my fear of talking about those things. So thank you for listening. And anything else? The book that I was referencing, it's called Your Inner Child in English, and it's written by Stefanie someone. Maybe I will put it in the comment, under the video. It helped me a lot, and yeah, I can really highly recommend therapy if that's something you feel that could work for you. For me, it helped me a lot, and I'm super grateful to my first therapist. Now I have another one, but I was reflecting on it yesterday that really my first therapist really held so much space for me to really dive into my childhood, like I said, and to really go into those dark places that I hadn't been brave enough to go into before, actually, and to really speak out the things that were on my heart. And so I'm really grateful for her. She was a very, very experienced and very capable woman. And I really think that healing together is so much more fruitful than doing everything alone. Like, of course, we can do it alone. And at the same time, like being witnessed and being seen and being acknowledged and like being like reflected back. This is valid, what you're experiencing or what you experienced is so healing. It's so helpful. Wow. Yeah, so if there's any part of you that really wants to do it, I really want to be the person that encourages you to do it. And I think I will speak more about the therapy I have now later in other lessons, I guess, because now the therapy that I do now is much different to the one I did before, and I really think that I got exactly what I needed at the times that I did. And I'm super grateful for the support and for the women that supported me along this way. Wow, it's been such a journey, and I'm so proud of myself. Like I feel like I'm so much more close to who I am now, to who I really am, and to the healed version of me and the version that feels at peace. So I'm so happy. And I think that's why I'm doing this and writing this book. I think I really need to be seen in this huge process that I've been through, and I really want to celebrate how far I've come and to really have something that I'm holding in my hand that's like, okay, I wrote this book about this huge thing that I went through, and this is kind of the token or the thing that I got from it, or that I created or birthed out of this process. Okay, thanks so much for your time, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day and beautiful rest of your week. Maybe where you are, there's fall now as well. I love it so much. It's my favorite time of the year. And yeah, I see you next week, and keep loving yourself, keep loving and caring for your inner